Hello, hello, hello. Good morning and happy Saturday, beloved. I'm Desiree Harris Bonner of DH Bonner Virtual Solutions, LLC, in here in sunny Florida. Just wishing you guys a really blessed day and hope that all is going well with you and yours. Today, I have a very special guest co hosting with me, a gentleman. I think this is the first guy that we've had. But I love all my fellas. But this particular one, this young man is very special to my heart because of who he is and what he's done. One, he's served our country, and that number one. I'm a GI brat, so I got all props for and love for those who put their lives on the line for ours to give us the freedoms that we have, and so I'm grateful to him for that. My daddy served two whatever they call them. I'm sorry, David will tell me what that's called in Vietnam. Tours, I think they call them tours. Two tours in Vietnam, and so he's still with us, and I'm glad about that. David served as well, and he'll tell us about that when we talk to him. So without further ado, let me bring up Mr. David Kendrick Jr.
All right. How you doing? Thank you
Hi,
for
sir.
having me.
Did I get that right? Was it tours or
Yeah, tour.
back
Yeah,
then? Maybe.
tours. We call them deployments. Same thing.
Yeah.
Same
You
thing.
had you had did you have, if I remember correctly from your book, you had one
Yep. One.
full on, yeah, from the time you started to this time things happen. But we'll talk about that a little bit later. What I want you to do though is take a moment and share with the audience, whether they're listening now or they'll be listening later, and tell them about who you are and what it is that you do.
All right. Well, David Kendrick Jr. You're in sunny Florida right now. I'm in hot Atlanta. Originally from Rochester, New York. Joined the army at 17. Technically, I was in a delayed entry program. Joined as a Cavalry Scout and proudly served. I earned my Purple Heart here. I was in from 2007 to 2010, and I went through a little transition period trying to find out who I was after the military. And I did that, and I started speaking about my time in the military and about PTSD and things I was going through. And it blossomed and it took off into my speaking career, and things are going pretty well with the career now. Now I'm a national advocate for Nami, the National Alliance on Mental Illness, and I do great work down here with our Nami, Georgia State office, just to advocate not only for veterans but for any demographic suffering from mental illness.
That's a powerful thing to move into. How did you shift from military service, without talking about what actually happened, physically happened, but the mental state of what shifted for you from moving from a mental, physical guy
Hmm.
to working as an advocate?
Yeah, yeah. In the military, I was a grunt, what they call a grunt, doing all the grunt work, all the hard work, literally fighting on the front lines. And after I got out, there was a period where I was trying to do different things and find out what I was good at. And actually, somebody told me that I was a good advocate for others in a group therapy session, out of all places.
Okay.
They said, David, you do such a good job telling your story. We want to pay you to try to tell other people's stories who just don't know how to do it. And that's where it took off. And I get my reward from doing that when I'm done speaking and I walk off stage and people come up to me and they shake my hand and they say, "Hey, I was going through the same thing," or my son passed away from suicide, and you gave me a little glimpse into what he was going through, and I want to thank you for that.
Wow.
Yeah.
How important do you feel that mental health is for our, not only our veterans, but also just our corporate our corporate grunts,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
for housewives, for
Yeah.
how important do you feel that is, or do you feel that there's any differences depending on what you're doing and who you are?
No. Basically, when I talk to people, everybody's burned out and tired. A couple years ago during the pandemic, I was certified. Well, I am certified in mental health first aid, and so I was talking to a bunch of people on the hotline throughout the entire country. And a lot of nurses and doctors and CNAs were really burned out, and they were struggling with their mental health. And there was a big spike in the number of suicides in the hospital or in the hotel, or not hotel, but in nurses and doctors and CNAs and things like that were committing suicide because they were on their own front lines getting patient after patient after patient. And then having to worry about, well, do I have COVID? Because this is during the time when nobody knew what it really was,
Right.
and people were just flocking to the hospitals, and they were all burned out. So, yeah, so mental health is very, very, very important. I actually one of my most read blog, but is never commented on, is on my website. It's called "I Quit My Job to Save My Mental Health."
Mm.
And I was working for a big Fortune 500 company down here in Atlanta. They said, "Hey, we love veterans, yada yada yada. We're a military friendly employer," and they got me in there, and I was just a number. I was just how many sales did you get today? And that's when I learned. I learned how to advocate for myself there as well, and for others, because I have a disability from my injury in Iraq, and there were some things going on that said this isn't right, and everybody else knew it wasn't right either, but nobody wanted to do anything about it. And I said, well, I am, so I went down to the EEOC and I advocated, and I got my desired result. Then when I went back to work, everybody was looking at me like, well, what about us? And I said, you have to advocate for yourself. In that work, in that work environment, you have to learn how to advocate for yourself. Because when I'm speaking in the room, they kept, I kept saying, well, we, and they were like, well, David, there's no we here. It's just you. So, just learn how to advocate.
Why do you think people are I understand the point of advocation, especially for myself. But
Mhm.
why do you think some people are put off from doing that or hesitant about doing that?
Fear out of retaliation, losing their jobs, getting demoted, or just being seen as weak in the workplace because everybody else has the same workload and it's just accepted. Hey, I got work too. Just do your work. And it's just the grind that we're in, especially after COVID. I mean, companies are still trying to make back the profits that they lost during COVID.
Mhm.
And I don't know. From from my experience, some people, public speaking is, they fear that, or they fear advocating for themselves, or they just maybe don't know how to do it. But these ADA laws and things like that are all in place for a reason, and we have laws protecting us, especially against retaliation in the
Yes.
workplace. Never be afraid to advocate for yourself.
Never be afraid. I think the reason why I pulled that out is because a lot of, or many of the clients that I have have gone through something,
Hmm.
right? So many of them are writing their memoirs or their testimonies,
Hmm.
right? And what I found is that common link is having the courage to tell your story, which is the same thing, having the courage to stand up for yourself. It's having the courage to tell the truth,
Yeah.
right? And so that's what, for me, is what a testimony really is saying I stood up for myself in this situation, and I trusted God. I trusted the laws that are in place. I
Hmm.
trusted my support system, and now I'm on the other side of whatever that issue is. It may not always look good, it may not always be pretty, but when it's all said and done, let's say you may not win the battle, but you'll win the war at the end of the day, right?
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
one of the things that was really wonderful about you is that your story is a story of someone who came from this side
Yeah.
and then went through the situations that you went through to come out on this side.
Hmm.
So tell us about that. Tell us about not the process of writing, but tell us a little bit about the story and how it transformed you into becoming who you are because you told it.
Well, I started writing, Cavalry when, as soon as I got out of the military, because I lost friends, and where I'm from, Rochester, New York, man, it's the hood, and nobody wants to hear about all the stuff you done outside the hood, because if it ain't here, we don't care, and it ain't
Okay.
contributing to what I'm trying to get. We don't want to hear it. So I just started writing to first remember my friends, because I did lose a lot of friends. I deployed during the troop surge in 2007 or 2006, 2007, and we were just getting destroyed over there. So with me writing, I just started writing like little chapters, things that I could remember, and nobody that I knew ever wrote a book, and I wouldn't even consider myself an author, because Calvary is just a diary that was edited well. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's really, saying, hey, I'm proud of my service in the military, man, and this was the best time of my life, and I get to document that. And I got the book right here, and when I first got it, I was giving them out because I wanted everybody just to experience, how much I love my friends and how much I love the Calvary. And I was giving out so many books that I had to write this. Like, this one is for David only. You can't give it
Yeah,
out.
you can't get this one.
Yeah, but I just joined a group on Facebook with other veterans, and I'm realizing how much of the book I got right,
Mm.
because I was in for 4 years, and I went back to Rochester, and I had nothing, no military, no anything. And now I'm in this group with these other veterans, and I'm hearing their experiences, and we're all sharing. And I read my book, and I'm like, man, we all had the same experience, like the smells, the sights, the sounds, the heat. Like
Yeah, the heat.
we can all relate. And for me to write this book when I was 23, and I'm 37 now, and just in now we're all sharing memories and stuff from the war. It's nothing like it. It's nothing like
My God. So, without giving away the story, because we want people to buy the book,
it. Exactly.
what eventually happened to you that caused you to have to leave the military?
Well, June 17th, 2007, I earned this, my Purple Heart. I was This was back during the troop surge, and we were actually living out in sector with the Iraqi police.
Mhm.
So we had a fob. I was on a fob named Rustamaya in Iraq and Baghdad. And George Bush, President Bush, he initiated these new types of missions where, hey, the danger's out there, so we want you to be out there. And I'm a scout. I'm like, oh, let's do it. And so when I was out there, we were just on a dismounted patrol, watching for enemies or any suspicious activity around this local college, because we have received some intel that there was going to be an attack. And 20 years old, just walking down the street in Iraq with my M4, I heard crack, and I fell to the ground, blacked out, and I woke up, and my left leg was broken, and I was bleeding everywhere. The bullet, it shattered my femur, and it hit my femoral artery. And luckily, we have the best combat lifesavers training in the world, and I had dismount. Shout out my dismount, Michael Hamilton, and my TC, Kevin Bailey. My TC jumped on top of me because we were ambushed. Um, I think the movie Full Metal Jacket, there's a scene. I think it was Vin Diesel. He got shot by a sniper, and they were waiting for somebody to get him so they can come pick them off too. It was
Right.
kind of like that. But in my situation, when I got hit, a truck pulled up to the traffic circle that we were on, and they did what's called pray and spray. Guys had AK-47s. They shot me when I was blacked out. I got hit in my right leg, and my TC got hit in the hip and in his forearm.
Mhm.
And those guys just took off, so we couldn't pursue the enemy. But while I'm there bleeding out, they had to cut my pants off right there in the middle of the street. It's June in Iraq, and it's 100 degrees outside. I feel my skin burning, and they cut my pants off, and then that's when I really started to bleed. And luckily, my dismount knew where to put the tourniquet. He stopped the bleeding, but even when I was 20 years old, I was a big dude, so it took two tourniquets on my left leg to stop the bleeding, and then one tourniquet on my right leg. And the rest of my platoon came up, and they helped me out. They got me on the backboard. They loaded me into a Humvee with my First Sergeant Overa, and weird story, but this is when I really felt death. I had I I had a big adrenaline rush because I got mad because when I was on the ground bleeding, the people were just walking by me like it was a normal day. So I let everybody know what I thought about them and the war at that time.
Yes. Yeah.
I sure did, man. I was,
With some colorful words.
told him I was gonna go out like Jeezy, bury me a G. But after that adrenaline rush went away, that's when I felt death. And so my first sergeant, he ripped open my flak vest and he took his knuckles like this and started rubbing them up and down my chest. I had to focus on the pain, and he had his camelback and he was dripping water on my lips. And then once I got that morphine, I knew I was gonna be okay. They shoot
Yeah.
you up with morphine. I'm looking at Sergeant Bailey, and I'm like, we going home. We gonna be messed up, but we going home.
Yeah.
And that was me at 20 years old. Uh, Now the bullet clipped my sciatic nerve, so I can't move the toes on my left foot anymore. I had to go through about 18 surgeries, 3.5 years of physical therapy, but I'm here.
Praise God. We thank God for it.
Yeah, your grace and mercy brought me through. I'm living this
Amen.
moment because of you.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So, one of the things though, you told it very succinctly, but when they read the book, what I love about your writing and your recall is there's so you have a slightly humorous, witty way about saying things and what you want to say. And one of the things I love is when you went back, when you got to Germany, when they moved you into Germany. Before, in the meantime, you started talking about chocolate.
Yeah, yeah. So the war was so bad. The hospital, I needed to. I had an emergency blood transfusion right there in Baghdad, and then I got sent to Longstuhl, Germany, and the hospital had ran out of American blood, and so yeah, I got a transfusion with German blood, and all these nurses and stuff. They sort of laughed like, "We got a special nickname for you." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And they say, "Yeah, we call you German chocolate now."
German chocolate.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, you have the book is a great read. Um, it's very well written. So yeah, I might have got some editing on it, but
Yeah.
you did a great job writing it. It was
Thank
easy to edit, to be honest. And you have a way of being able to put that wittiness with what you're sharing.
you.
So if we couple that back with mental health and what you're doing, um, I know that the transition from out of the military, out of that situation, and the change in your physical body
Mm-hmm.
had to have a toll,
Yeah.
right? So, how did you manage your mental state?
It was rough, and for a while I didn't. I fell into the same pits that all veterans go through. I drank, 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 drank. When my unit got back, well, first the very next day after I got shot, Eric Snell was shot and killed in Iraq. I call him OG. He was shot and killed, and I had survivor's guilt because I'm like, that should have been me. OG got kids. I don't have any kids. I still don't have kids. But he was, my best friend. And then my unit deployed to Afghanistan, and I lost even more friends. Skuza, Griffin, my unit 361. They were ambushed in Afghanistan. I lost even more friends. So I was just down in the dumps, full of despair, and I was just drinking, drinking, drinking. And then when I got home, it was no better because my dad was basically, okay, all that military stuff over with now. I need help paying his rent. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
So I drank there too, and I was going through so much. And things that were going through my head were unnatural, unnatural. So I had to leave because I didn't want to end up doing anything that I regretted to my dad. So I
Mm.
left, and I stayed in my car for a while. But and I got pulled into a program, the Warrior Salute program in Webster, from General Mixon, somebody who I met in the book. He said, "David, I know you can use the help." So I still was even drinking in the program. And one day I attempted to take my life. I drank 2 bottles of Bacardi. I took some pills with him. I drove myself to the hospital, and I didn't even talk to him. I was writing notes. I, I, I said, "Save me if you can." And I woke up in the padded room, and the first person I saw was my mom. And I thought, oh my God, she done saw me come back from the war, shot up, going through that, and now she's seeing me after a failed suicide attempt. You can't do this to your mom, because with mental health, it's like a ticking time bomb, and when it's just like a bomb in Iraq. But when you explode, that shrapnel is gonna hurt the people closest to you. And in this case,
Mm,
it was my mom. I said, "You can't do this to your mom, man. You got to get some help."
that is a powerful line. That is like a ticking time bomb, and it's the shrapnel that impacts and affects and hurts those that are closest to you.
Hmm.
Wow, I'm having to Selah on that one for a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's a truth. And for me, like today is the anniversary of my firstborn son's passing.
Mm.
He passed last year, so he'll be forever 40 for me. And so I was like, how am I going to get through today
Mm.
without, which, collapsing? And I realized that it's okay not to be okay, because what he did has that impact.
Hmm.
It has impacted my life, and it will forever impact my life. Um, and so I tend to think of mental health in the case as, for me, is it's not that I try to do something to be better. I just have radical acceptance and then look to my support system
Hmm.
to help me move through the moment till I can get to that next moment
Yeah.
where there's more peace.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's all about those moments. Yeah.
yeah, because life be lifing.
It do, and it is not going to stop.
And it's not gonna stop.
You need it. You know, you got to have that toolkit ready for, hey, I'm going through something right now because I just got done speaking at NamiCon, and
Okay.
one of
Yeah.
my presentation was access to access mental health access in deserts, like a food desert where there's no
Okay.
nutritional food around.
Yes.
So a mental health desert is just where, like in Rochester, when you get back home and after a suicide attempt, they just let you leave with a $3,000 bill. I'm like, that's it, So it's gaining access to mental health. So you need to have a toolkit because life, like you said, is going to be life. And on the presentation that I gave, there were studies by NIH, I think it's the National Institute of Health, and
Hmm.
a report by CNN. I was showing that people between, I think, the ages of 35 and 50 are committing suicide at a historic pace, and they're binge drinking and getting high at historic paces. And
Okay.
that's because life is life. So when
Hmm.
you have a mental health issue, hey, what's going to make me feel better right now? I don't want to talk to nobody about no therapy session. I need a beer. I need whatever my drug of choice is to make me feel better right now. Because when it comes to therapy, it's going to take time, sessions, and that's going to cost you money. And your job may give you 6 free EAP sessions, 6 free therapy sessions. But then after that, do you have the money to afford mental health care? So that's why I'm glad that I work with Nami, because the things that we do are free
Yeah.
and it's for everybody. So we have multiple programs for veterans, for caregivers, for peers who just want to hear more about mental health issues from other people. So no matter where you are, just go to NAMI.org and you'll find your local NAMI affiliate, and they'll give you some tools for your mental health tool bag as well.
So I want to back up for one quick second, because as you were speaking about your drug of choice, the beer, whatever, alcohol, what I want to bring out and make sure it's clear is that everybody doesn't have that same thing. Some people, it may be sex.
Hmm. Hmm.
Some, they become real promiscuous, right?
It's a release.
It's a release. Whatever it is that can numb you
You're gonna
from
need
the feeling.
you're gonna need some type of release. And what my release was actually was the sport of boxing.
Okay.
Boxing, after I got injured, I said, David, man, you're going to prove to the world that this is not going to be the end of your story. And you're going to do something. And if I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it better than somebody without a disability. Without a disability. So I got to Colorado Springs, man. I started boxing. I actually started boxing with the World Class Athlete Program, WCAP out there.
Okay.
And for me, my release for the anger, the pain, losing my friends, it was knocking somebody's head off.
Okay.
in the ring. It was
Yeah.
fight. It was boxing because it's so therapeutic. You get out so much anger by hitting the bag, and it's also a good workout. You get a good runner's high, but just to punch and scream and challenge. And I was challenging myself, like to say, hey, I'm gonna be better than this person right here because they don't have nothing wrong with them. But I can't even move the toes of my foot. I can barely throw my left hook because I have so much muscle atrophy in my ankle. But I'm still gonna try my hardest to knock it out.
Yes.
And I did knock a few people out. I was pretty good.
Okay.
But yeah, it's just those releases because you know what happens in the country, man. We have these mass shootings, and
Hmm.
I think those are just people who are releasing everything that they're going through,
I
and they just
agree.
don't know how to talk about it. That's why we
Yes.
have this big conversation: is it mental health? Is it the gun issue? I think it's a little bit of both. Everybody, like you said, life is life, and my job sucks, and traffic sucks, and
Hmm.
everything sucks, and hey, in America, I got access to a gun. I
Hmm.
may not have access to a mental health therapist, but I know I can get a gun. And then I think
Right.
I think that's what
Yeah.
we're seeing with some of these shootings.
And their frustrations and their upsets and their anger.
Yeah,
Um, that's the way it's expressed.
because we always hear after every single shooting, we hear the backstory
Yes.
of what happened. The backstory. It's the big calls for help, and I've been there. Like I told you, when my mind wasn't right and I had to leave, my thought process was, I want everybody else to feel my pain.
Hmm.
I'm gonna make y'all feel it.
Hmm.
But then I thought, oh, you can't. Oh, you don't know, you can't. So I left and I just got on the street. And luckily, I had a good church family back home. We actually started a church community, Christ Community Church of Rochester, and I got saved there. And thank God I did.
Good. Tell me again, because I want to put it on the screen. Do you want them to go to your website or do you want them to go to the NAMI website?
Well, you can do both. If you, I gotta make sure I do the NAMI website right. It's just www.nami.org.
How do you is it NA or MI? NO?
Nami.
MI. Okay.
Yep,
.org.
yep, nami.org.
Okay.
Make sure I'm done. Right. Yep, and this is what the screen will look like when you get there.
Perfect.
Yep.
Yeah, please go there. If you happen to be watching this at any time and you know you need a little support.
Mm-hmm.
Is that only for veterans or is it also
Oh
for
no, NAMI is for
non-vets?
everybody. It's a National Alliance on Mental Illness. There's going to be a program for you there. No matter if you just want to support, if you want to volunteer, you want to see what programs that we have to offer. Everything is free, and we have affiliates in all of every single state. So find your state, find your local NAMI affiliate, and if you don't have one, talk to somebody about getting one. Because what I found, and when I was giving my presentation on mental health deserts, in a lot of rural America, like Kansas and things like that, farmers are committing suicide
Yes, yes.
because they don't have access to the mental health care. That's something that I found out about, and so that's for me. That's something that I'm going to try to work on. Like, hey, and it's something that we never think about. Like these people are feeding America in these rural states like
Yes.
Kansas, but they're committing suicide because they don't have access to mental health care. How can you feed America, but we can't give you the access to the care that you need?
Yeah, what happens when you're in the spaces like that and you're not, I think this is a very, very recent current
Hmm.
situation where they're
Hmm.
not getting rain
Right.
and crops are dying.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's their life.
That's their life. That's their livelihood.
Yeah. Global
Exactly.
warming. Yeah.
So, yeah. And then what is your website, sir?
It is www.dkendrickjr.com.
.com.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. And they can get the book from there.
You can get the book on Amazon, but there is a link to it on my page as well. But yeah, you can definitely get the book there. Find out what I have going on as well. I do speak all around the country. I'm just really Atlanta is my headquarters, so I do a lot around the Atlanta Metro Atlanta area. But if anybody wants to come out, hear me speak, yeah, visit www.dkendrickjr.com. I'd be
Excellent.
glad to speak for you.
Well, before we leave, I want you to have the last word. So I want you to share a word of encouragement or a word of wisdom for anyone that's experiencing a issue even right now that may even be watching.
Mhm. Okay, well, there's hope. There definitely is hope. Use my story as motivation to motivate you. And if you're going through anything, suicide is never an option. I've been there, I've tried it, and it didn't work. It didn't work. It's never ever going to be an option. Find whatever tools you need to put in your toolbox and give them to other people as well, the people that are closest to you. Because when you're going through what you're going through, these are going to be the people who are going to be, you're like I was on the front lines. They're going to be on the front lines fighting for you. So make sure you have a good team around you. And don't be afraid to have to remove people from your team as well, because they can also be contributing to your mental health decline. So always, always, always take care of yourself. Put you first, and don't feel bad about it.
Don't feel bad about it.
Nope.
I love it. And I
Thank
love you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for taking the time today to chat with me and to share your heart. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
And I hope you have a really awesome day.
Thank you. Thank you. You too.
Take care.
All right.
Bye bye.